I'm writing this because timing matters. Because if you read this too early, it will sound dramatic. If you read it too late, it will sound obvious. But if you're reading this at the exact moment you're thinking of stopping, then it might be the only thing that makes sense today. I didn't plan to learn this lesson, I didn't want to. It came the same way most real truths come, slowly, inconveniently, and at the worst possible time. I've been working toward the same thing for years, long enough that the story had stopped being exciting, long enough that even I was tired of hearing myself talk about it, long enough that people around me had quietly decided whether I was serious or delusional, and I couldn't blame them. From the outside, nothing had changed. Same effort, same routine, same quiet grind that never produced visible proof. But inside, something was shifting in a way I didn't yet understand. The fear I felt in the beginning was gone. That surprised me. At the start, fear was everywhere. Fear of failing, fear of embarrassment, fear of being exposed as someone who wanted more than they deserved. But now there was something worse. Silence, no panic, no urgency, just a calm, heavy sense of what's the point? That's when quitting becomes dangerous. Because panic makes you reckless. But calm doubt makes you reasonable. It whispers instead of shouts. It doesn't say you can't do this. It says, you've grown. You've learned enough. It's okay to let this go. And that voice sounds mature. It sounds wise. It sounds like self-respect. I almost listened. I remember sitting there looking at unfinished work, feeling absolutely nothing toward it. No anger, no motivation, no excitement, just distance. That distance felt like clarity, and clarity feels trustworthy. That's how most people walk away, not in frustration, but in peace. What I didn't realize then was that peace was artificial. It wasn't resolution, it was emotional shutdown. There's a stage in every long pursuit where your brain stops rewarding you for effort, where progress becomes too subtle for dopamine to track, where improvement no longer feels like improvement because it has become normal. Your nervous system gets bored, your identity gets threatened, and your mind starts looking for exits. This is the part no one talks about. Not the struggle at the beginning, not the hunger, not the grind, but the middle-late phase where you are competent enough to succeed and tired enough to quit. That's where most people disappear. Not because they weren't strong, but because they were strong for too long without evidence. I noticed something else during that phase. The closer I got, the more uncomfortable my old identity felt. The version of me that liked dreaming without delivering started to suffocate. Fantasy had no room to breathe anymore because reality was approaching, and reality doesn't allow excuses. Success doesn't just give you results, it demands accountability. If you succeed, you can't say I could have. If you succeed, you can't hide behind potential. If you succeed, you must live up to what you've been claiming internally for years. And most people don't realize this, but failure protects you. Failure lets you keep the dream untouched. Success forces you to become the person capable of sustaining it. That's heavier than people expect. That's why the urge to quit often appears right before things change. Because the subconscious recognizes the approaching shift before the conscious mind does. I didn't quit. Not because I was brave, not because I was disciplined, but because something felt suspicious. The timing didn't make sense. Why did the desire to stop arrive now? After years of survival? After skills had sharpened? After mistakes had slowed? After chaos had started organizing itself into patterns? Why now? So I stayed. Not with enthusiasm, not with confidence, just with presence. I stopped trying to feel motivated. I stopped trying to feel inspired. I simply refused to disappear. And slowly, quietly, things responded. Not explosively, not magically, but structurally. Doors opened that wouldn't have opened earlier. Resistance softened where it used to fight back. Conversations changed tone. Opportunities required less explanation. It wasn't luck. It was alignment catching up. That's when it hit me. Success doesn't feel like victory when it arrives. It feels like relief mixed with unfamiliar responsibility. And most people misread that sensation as burnout. They think they're done. They're not done. They're done being who they were. That's the difference. Most people don't quit because the path is wrong. They quit because the next step requires a new identity. And identity change is painful. It strips away old narratives, old justifications, old comforts. You don't get to keep who you were once you cross a certain line. And the mind resists that loss. So it creates a story that allows escape. It's not aligned anymore. I want something simpler. I need to focus on myself. Those phrases aren't lies, they're shields. They protect you from becoming accountable to your own potential. Years later, people say, I was so close. They weren't exaggerating. They just didn't recognize proximity, because proximity to success doesn't feel like momentum. It feels like emptiness, like a pause, like nothing is happening. And humans hate nothing. We prefer pain to uncertainty. We prefer struggle to silence. So we create motion by quitting. At least quitting feels like a decision. At least it gives closure. Staying gives none. Staying feels like standing in fog with no guarantee that clarity exists on the other side. I'm writing this because if you're thinking about stopping right now and the thought feels calm, rational, even healthy, be careful. That calm might not be wisdom. It might be fear that learned how to sound reasonable. I'm not telling you to push harder. I'm telling you to wait before you vanish. Because if quitting feels tempting right now, not desperate, not emotional, but clean, you may be closer than you've ever been. And success will not announce itself. It will not beg you to stay. It will not remind you how far you've come. It will simply wait. And if you walk away, it won't chase you. It will let you go quietly, the same way it let everyone else go who almost made it.